What qualifies you, and what would your largest priority be if reelected?
Sure. Yeah. Well, all my life I've been uh, a public servant, and um, since I've been here in Chattanooga, I've done a lot of things on that spectrum. I've served in a number of civic. Wait a minute, can I do that? Because I, yeah, y'all gonna edit this, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, okay. Because I lost, unfortunately. This has been a morning for me, also.
No problem.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, all my life I've been a public servant, and I'm real excited to continue doing that, no matter where this path leads me. And I'm a graduate of Tennessee State University with a degree in healthcare administration and planning. And I've served as hospital administrator. I've worked in the for-profit area with a number of companies, and most of what I've done is work with nonprofits. So I have a diverse background of experience, which would make me uniquely qualified to do organizational things to help improve the efficiency of our city, as well as I've managed different types of budgets successfully. I've served on a number of boards, such as I've chaired the Erlanger Community Health Center Board. I've been vice chairman of the city's pension board, and I've worked with the Minority Healthcare Committee, and I've served on WTCI, um, Creative Discovery Museum, and a whole host of volunteer organization that's committed to improving the quality of life of all its citizens. Because of my diverse background, I believe I have the passion and the experience to bring together a truly diverse, innovative team that will address our current challenges, as well as start to grow the future of our city into really a great, equity, inclusive place to be. I want each citizens, and I will make that happen, develop to its fullest by making sure we are attacking those things that affect everyday people life to improve where we are as a city.
Thank you. We're going to move into the budget. As we near a year since the virus hit Chattanooga, businesses and individuals within the city are struggling due to COVID-19 as well. How would you provide aid to those businesses and families hit hardest by the pandemic's economic impact? Are there programs in place you want to keep, and what other programs would you add?
Yeah, well, as it relates to the recovery, we need to look at our small businesses because we've lost so many of them during this pandemic, and those that are still in existence or have some challenging times. So we would make commitments through public, private, and philanthropic partnerships to keep providing resources, keep attracting resources to make sure that those small businesses continue to thrive, but then at the same time to recapture those that we lost to look at developing new businesses. And with the anticipation of the next round of COVID relief funding, I would make sure that those businesses have that opportunity to take advantage of that. It's really going to be about how we grow our small businesses. And through community revitalization, that'll be just another phase to make sure that those citizens who are struggling with paying their rent, their utilities, and their just everyday accessibility, their everyday things they need to survive, get the support they need also. So we want to we will work. My team and I we will work extremely hard to make sure that there's resources out here to make sure those small businesses and family continue to thrive.
Thank you. Paving and transportation consistently rank at the top of citizens' top concerns, according to annual studies by the city. What transportation or infrastructural goals would you have if elected?
Yeah. Well, one thing we would do is right now, the infrastructure, particularly paving, is handled by two different departments. I would combine those departments so that paving and street repair are linked together so we can maximize and be more efficient in how we serve that. We would obviously include more funding to that. Since I've been on city council, it has went from like 2 or 3 million to I believe almost 8 million. So we're getting there. The best way to do that moving forward is to create a comprehensive plan, a multi-year plan, so that we're on track to catch up while at the same time maintaining the roads that we have. And as we get additional federal dollars for those kind of activities, they would just be value added to what we're already doing. So we're going to do this strategically, and we're going to make sure that the citizens know where they are in the process with the paving. And as far as the transportation is multifaceted for me, and it's really about our sidewalks and our public transportation and how we connect together as neighborhoods. And there will be a strong focus in the budget to make sure that that happens. And by working with Carter to make sure that uh, their routes are accessible to everybody. They go where they need to go, and we're going to look at some funding mechanisms to make sure that fees are drastically reduced so people can be able to afford to get on them. But our team and I would look at how to mostly make that a efficient operation because Carter has so many, they have several sources of funding. So we want to make sure all of them are connected together to make sure that we get the most of it and citizens can ride without wearing the burden of fees that they cannot afford.
We're going to move into some business and economy questions, Councilman Oglesby. City labor unions and many activists support a $15 minimum wage for city employees, which Mayor Burke had intended to begin implementing prior to COVID. Do you support this or any other specific pay increase plans for city employees? Why or why not?
No, absolutely, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I appreciate the fact because we were about to implement that plan this year when COVID hit, and it was going to be a 2-year plan to get to that point. So I'm extremely supportive of that, and I believe now this year in our budget we will look to start getting to that point. So I am in full support. That is a priority area of that would be a priority area of my financial team to make sure we get to that. As I said earlier, I appreciate the fact that the employees, the great employees of the city, deferred that 1 year, and I believe it should be our commitment to make that happen now. We'll also look at police and fire salaries to make sure that they're at a competitive rate because at the rate we're paying our first responders now, we're training some really great employees. They're getting valuable experience, and then they have to leave to go somewhere else that make more money. So that's going to be another priority that we're going to look at because there's salary studies that have been done to help us get to that point. So that's truly going to be one of the priorities that I instruct my finance team to make happen. And we're going to do this with conversations from the city employees and our first responders to make sure that we all on one page on this and that we get through this pandemic together with the financial challenges that not only the city but that we have in our country.
In 2019, 40% of Chattanooga's households are housing cost burdened, meaning they pay more than 30% of their income for housing and may struggle to afford other necessities. How would you address affordable housing in your district?
Well, one of the things that we have to do is address housing in our communities because so many citizens are losing their homes because they can't afford to stay where they are. And I want to work with some private and philanthropic organizations that will come in and help people rehab their homes, make them more energy efficient, and provide them with the tools that will keep them in their existing homes. The other thing from neighborhood revitalizations is making sure that we work hard to get rid of blighted, unsafe situations. So it makes it more attractive for for neighbors to stay in their homes. So we work extremely hard, the economic development team, to make sure that we create neighborhoods that are sustainable, that people can stay in and be safe. And then we'll look at working with developers with city property that we own, but it's not being used, on how we can best convert those to affordable housing. So, we'll come up, the finance team and the economic development team and I will come up with a plan, a multi-year plan to get us to that point where we actually keep people in our neighborhood. Because I don't believe you should have to leave your neighborhood to have a safe, affordable homes.
We're going to move into some public safety questions. Last fall, shootings in Chattanooga were up by 20% from the same time in 2019 and higher than any time in the last 5 years. How would you work as a council member to lower crime in your district?
Yeah, well, we will. Our police officers will take an extremely aggressive community relations. Yeah, I put there more. We'll do more community policing and building those relationships in our communities. One of the reasons that we've had so much crime is because of this pandemic. People are there without jobs. They're shell shocked from being isolated, and they just need things to do that will. I'm not, get me on that one. Um, we just. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Travis. This thing,
No,
but okay, but it's improving the community relationship that our officers have with neighborhoods, and you'll see more of that uh, as me as mayor, as a focus from the police department. One of the things that we have to do is make it more diverse, and one of the way we need to make it more diverse is making it attractive for minorities or people of color to want to join the police force, because all the strife that has gone through this summer, to be a policeman is not what a lot of minorities or people of color would strive to be. And I would instruct our public safety, our police officer, our police chief, to work on ways to rebuild that trust. And that retrust is going to, and the only way to build that trust is to build stronger relationships, and making sure that our police departments start looking like the communities we serve, and to have training on sensitivity and cultural diversity, and proper policing method that may not be so aggressive, so we can start getting that trust back with our police department and become partners in how we fight crime in our city, that should reduce all those shootings. So, create more activities for citizens and building stronger relationships, and having community being part of the safety efforts in our city.
activists spent this summer protesting police brutality across the country and in Chattanooga, demanding defunding or divesting from the police. Would you consider defunding or divesting from CPD for reform? In what other ways, if any, would you consider law enforcement reform?
Well, defunding the police is not something I'm for. I think our men and women here do a phenomenal job. And yes, in every organization, in every family, there's some challenging people that you have to deal with. So through police reform, and we have currently we have a review committee, which the police advisory review committee, that's going to be looking at things that are not appropriate behavior in our police department. And that's going to be an evolving process because we just got that activated this past year. So from that standpoint, we need to just look at reform. We need to look at how we have relationships with other organizations that can assist with how we address calls. There's a talk of having mental health professionals. I'm for that, but there has to be a system in place where we bring all these people together to make sure that they are adequately trained and that systems in place to make that happen. Oh, Travis, I'm not. this is, but I'm not funding police, but I'm for reform, and I'm for looking at how we allocate resources to the police department.
Okay.
But I believe, they do a phenomenal job, and I support what they do.
Well, many have questioned the conduct of activists, given vandalism, disruption to businesses, and confrontations with the police. Others have criticized law enforcement for restricting access to public areas, surveillance of activists on private property, and the nature of some arrests. If similar unrest came up during your term, how would you weigh restrictions for activists and police presence? And what would you have done differently?
Well, the police, they were just trying to keep everybody safe. And I believe that everybody has a right to protest. I've said this many times. I have, as a young person, protested for things that I thought were not in the best interest of the citizenry. But with that being said, they have the right to protest. Our police need to be patient and uh, I'm sorry, Travis, this is not a good warning for me, but
No, and let me know if you need me to re-ask the question.
yeah, do that.
Yeah, to help you out a little bit. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly. You're good.
Okay.
It's just, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I know it's sort of a loaded question. So, all right. So many have questioned the conduct of activists given vandalism. Okay. Disruption to businesses and confrontations with the police. Others have criticized law enforcement for restricting access to public areas, surveillance of those activists on private property, and the nature of some of the arrest. So if similar unrest came up during your term, how would you weigh restrictions for activists and police presence? And what would you have done differently, versus what we sort of saw last year?
Mhm. In Chattanooga, I didn't see a lot of what we saw nationally. There was, some vandalism, like they painted City Hall steps, and maybe a few windows has been broken. But uh, from what I've seen, actually being down there and observing, our protesters just simply voiced their opinions. There was a few incidents that were very challenging and very questionable, but they wasn't of the magnitude of what we see in other cities across the country. So I applaud our activists for showing the restraint that they've had, but I also know that our police department was out there engaging with people, trying to keep people safe. So it was more, the way I saw our officers was it was out there just trying to keep people safe, keep property damage to a minimum. And I would just I wouldn't necessarily do a lot differently, but just making sure that we didn't run into the situations that we ran in some of the major cities.
Thank you. Do you support current city council restrictions on public input during meetings? Would you change these policies or make other efforts to encourage public input?
They have public input in our city council meetings. You know, you have 3 minutes to speak at the end of the meeting, pretty much about whatever you want to do. So that would be really a question for the city council and not necessarily the mayor, because the chair of the city council, that's their baby. That's what they ran. And so that's really a city council question, but as it exists now, citizens have an opportunity to speak at any and all our city council meetings. You know, we just ask that, you know, you be respectful to what you have to say, and that you know, that's what you should do anyway.
All right, and just a few more questions, Mr. Oglesby. Have you received the COVID-19 vaccine? And if not, will you when it's available?
No, I have not received it, but as soon as it's available to me, I will take the vaccine. Yes.
What should the relationship between the mayor and city council look like? And will you cultivate relationships with the new administration?
Uh, Now that's a great question. Of course I would. Yeah, I believe that the relationship between the mayor and the city council should be one of a partnership where there's ongoing communication. The city council is a key link to the citizens of our city because they represent the district, because they represent citizens and they hear citizens' concerns. Now, as mayor, I would regularly meet with citizens groups, neighborhood association. I would be out there talking with them. But when it comes down to like planning the budget, capital projects, anything that help us grow as a city, the city council would be actively involved. It wouldn't be a case where I would just go and say, look, this is what I want to do. I need you to do it. Now, there'll be some discussions and they'll have a free hand in coming to me and having those discussions also. So I really see serving on the city council and knowing how both entities should function, that will be something that the city will see a market improvement on. And I believe you'll see a lot more things getting done. So hearing from the citizens and respecting the city council members will only make us a better city and get us more things done.
Sorry, I was muted there. Would you support public money for a new Chattanooga Lookout Stadium?
That would be something that has to be discussed, you know, having here all the details and what the overall plan is. So I would have to hear the overall plan and how it can benefit the citizens of Chattanooga.
All right, Mr. Oglesby, what else should voters know about you? Why should they choose you to represent them in their district?
The city, well, I'm committed I'm committed to Chattanooga. You know, when I first became acquainted with Chattanooga was back in the 70s when it wasn't the place you wanted to see. And I saw back then Chattanooga was a special place because of the natural environment and the people that I experienced. It's about the people that really makes the city. And I saw that. And it was ultimately one of my dreams to come to Chattanooga and make an impact, to be someone who helps the citizens and this city be all it can be. I'm experienced. I have the passion. I have served this city in a number of different in a number of different ways. And I'm just excited about the potential that this city has. And by creating a plan that engages everybody, that help us reach a city that is equitable and inclusive to all people while growing us regionally. You'll see a mayor that's going to look at how we do things economically from a regional standpoint, because Chattanooga is the city within this great region, and people and the surrounding communities look to us for leadership and how we can pool our resources and maximize our resources to be all that people can really thrive and be excited about.